All right, it's time to talk basketball. I'm Jose Salviati, editor at thepeachbasket.net. He's Steve Purciello, a longtime educator, vice principal, high school basketball coach, athletic director, and also the host of the Celtic Chalk Talk pod. The Celtic Chalk Talk is a pod dedicated to the latest news and opinions surrounding Boston Celtics from a lifelong fan, that being Steve. The pod will drop new episodes every Monday, but this, again, is the Shot Clock Pod, the best 24 minutes of NBA random thoughts online anywhere. This podcast was born out of the content in Steve's 13 Rules Random NBA Thoughts articles, which he publishes weekly. Steve and I have exactly 24 minutes to discuss what's on his mind around the NBA. Today, we'll discuss his latest 13 Rules Random NBA Thoughts article, where he shares his random thoughts after a, let's call it, tumultuous week 4 of the 2025-26 NBA season. I'm ready to start the timer. Steve, are you ready to talk?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Let's go. Clock is ticking. All right. We called it tumultuous, and it has been. Every season has two things that at least I don't like to talk about, and that is injuries and firings. And we've had a bunch of both already in the young season. We'll start in Dallas. Owner approves a move by the GM. GM makes the approved move. Owner fires GM. That's what happened. Now, nobody's going to argue that Nico Harrison's move was the right one to make. I think trades usually you look at 2-3 years down the line. This was a bad trade, but it was owner approved. Why did Nico Harrison get the blame ultimately for it?
First of all, the owner did approve it, which is ironic. But when you think about the whole thing, you're trading a guy, one of the top 3 players in the league.
No doubt.
You didn't go out and see what other teams match or see what they can give.
Right.
You just did it. The owner is new. You can get into the mess around that with Mark Cuban and everything else. And the fact that the owner didn't even talk to Cuban while this was going on, not saying that Mark Cuban is a sage, but he could have helped. And he probably would have explained that you don't mess around getting rid of Luka. And he would have been vehemently against it. So you have that. You have Nico Harrison, who the owner's got, doesn't quite understand the NBA yet. He's new. And he allows Harrison the autonomy and okays it without thinking the whole thing through. And you'll have to wonder what kind of, this guy followed the NBA before or not. Patrick Dumont is the man we're talking about. But it's a whole mess of things. The owner didn't want to talk to Cuban. Now Cuban's getting involved again, but it's like the horse leaving and then you shut the gate. It just doesn't make any sense. So all of that, now, did Nico deserve? Probably did. And it's probably crazy that they went into the season because it wasn't fair to the players when fans are chanting, get rid of Nico and fire Nico, whatever it is. It was a whole mess that could have maybe been avoided this year. Nobody wants anybody to be fired, but that's the end result of it. And it just, the Dallas Mavericks right now, if you think about it, Anthony Davis, who I thought could help them with Kyrie. Kyrie's gone. Anthony Davis is back to being what Charles Barkley referred to as street clothes because he's not playing much. So what's the answer? Obviously, what do? You have to begin to think about trading him, trading Kyrie, and starting over. They do have Cooper Flag there. And maybe you can get something for Gafford and some, Eric Lively, the keeper. So that might be the only way to go. My question then becomes, what are you going to get for Davis? What are you going to get for, by the way, Davis's contract will be due in 1.5 years. What happens? You're going to give him big money? You're crazy. We're going to talk about Bradley Beal in a few minutes, and it's a similar type thing, and I'll explain that. But then maybe Kyrie's got to be healthy before you can trade him. So what do? They do have their first round pick in 26. What? And they're out. They got not many picks after that, and 27 and the years after. So the only thing they can hope is get a couple number ones for Irving and Davis and try to build something. And by the way, if they tank this year, maybe they get one of the 3 best college players who's supposed to be great. Now you got Cooper and him, so you got a fighting chance. but in the future. But otherwise, and it's sad for the fans also.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned the fans. I don't think there's anything tougher. This team was set. They had one of the greats in Dirk Nowitzki, who handed the baton. It was perfect the way things went in Dallas. Had a season, I think at least one or two for sure, with Luka handed the baton to a mature team now. Luka takes him to the finals. Everything just looking great. He's a young superstar. And then it all just gets taken away. One fell swoop. It is mind-boggling. The one thing I will put out there before we go on to the next topic is, what possibility, because you were high on the Mavericks at the start of the season. I was high on the Mavericks at the start of the season. I still think, right? Now, hear me out. They're gonna have a bumpy first half of the season, no doubt about it. But what if Kyrie comes back, which he might, right? I think he's expected to. AD comes back. And all of a sudden, the last half of the season, this team goes 28-0, storms into the playoffs, and has an amazing run. This is still a good team if you put in a healthy AD, a healthy Kyrie, a Cooper Flag with 3/4 of a season under his belt. They can do some damage. That's the best case scenario, isn't it?
I'll answer it very simply. Anthony Davis is over 30 years old.
Yeah.
Do you think all of a sudden he's going to play 75 games a year?
No, I just want him to play 30 this season. Healthy 30.
Well, Kyrie is 32, I believe.
He could play 30.
What I'm saying to you is it's diminishing returns. If you do this, you got to think about this. If you do, that's fine. I don't think you're going to win a title, but you could be in the playoffs and be a problem. I don't think anybody's beating Oklahoma City, but that's something we'll talk about. But what do you do here? I don't think you can beat Oklahoma City. And this year you have your pick. Next year you don't. So now you get a 15th pick this year, 20th pick.
Yeah.
Kyrie and Anthony are a year older. Probably play less games. Where you going? It's over. So you got to sit there. First of all, if you're ownership, you got to look at put an article out or something and say, we messed up. We'll be back. A plan. Give us time. And probably the smartest thing they're doing is bringing Mark Cuban back into the picture, because he can be somebody that can calm the masses. And that's what you have to do. That's really a sad situation. Really, there's not many choices there. It's not a bad idea what you're saying, but then you have to take about the draft picks. Nothing coming. Right. What are you going to do? Win 15 games for the next 10 years and have no draft picks? That's just a nightmare.
It's a tough situation when even the best case scenario gets shot down. So it's a tough situation in Dallas. Let's hope for the best moving forward. You brought up the Thunder. You unceremoniously called out that they just dismantled the Lakers for a half, but your point wasn't that. Your point, you just threw that in for giggles. Your point was that this is the best team in the NBA and there's no close second. What makes them so good?
Oh, God. They're 13-1 and their second best player hasn't played. And
incredible.
I was just looking at some and it's really incredible. Next year, they have 3 first-round picks. Now, you really want to think about it.
Wow.
Utah's pick. Utah's going to be in the lottery. Let's just play a game here. Let's say they come up with one of the first 3 picks. Now, they also have they have Philadelphia's pick. Philadelphia is a border like a 7-8 seed type team. So that's not a great pick. But the way they draft, that might be they might turn it into something. Sure. In 27, they have 3 more first-round picks. Just like this isn't going to end. If they do things right, they're going to win forever. As long as they stay healthy. Like with the Celtics and teams that have won titles, Denver, they had to get rid of players because they didn't want to go in the second apron. If these picks work, they just move on from guys. And as long as you Shea Gilgeous, Williams, and Holmgren and just work around it. Yeah. You keep this thing going forever, and you might not even ever get into the second apron. If you make good picks, it's remarkable. So that's why I think there's no end to this. This could go on. And the NBA with the second apron wanted parity with putting in the second apron in the thing.
Yeah.
Defeated a parity by what he's done.
And good for him. It's a small market team. I'm all in. I love to see what they're doing. I love the teams are trying to emulate what they're doing. But we saw it happen in Dallas. The perfect plan is just one bad decision away from going all haywire. So hope that doesn't happen in Oklahoma City. I'm a fan of what they're doing. And right now, yeah, they're scary, scary.
Just, if you watched the Laker game the other night, and I turned it off quickly, but Lakers are a pretty good team, which is hard for me to admit, but they're a pretty good team. Not great, pretty good. Oklahoma City was toying with them.
Yeah.
Just it was like the great boxer fighting this middle of the pack fighter, just playing like Ali in his prime, just toying with the person.
Yeah.
It's not a pretty thing to watch. And this is a good team, the Lakers.
Yeah, they're good. And we'll see how the season plays out. It's a long way to go. Speaking of injuries, we started with that. Injuries and firings, things we don't like to talk about. There's an injury in New York. The Knicks are off to a pretty good start. Jalen Brunson injured. What does that mean for the Knicks?
Well, I don't think they played well against Miami the other night. I don't know. We're going to hurt them. They've been home for a while. They're going to go on the road. It's a little harder. Karl-Anthony Towns is still a great offensive player. I think the irony in this was there was a little over 2 minutes left. They were down double figures. Mike Brown left him in. He got hurt. When Tom Thibodeau did that,
yeah,
the news, and there was a little inkling, a couple questions to Brown, but when Tibbs did that, oh God, the meeting went crazy. And the minutes police were out all over the place checking on him and seeing what's going on. So I think, and here's the irony in my mind. If you were to rate head coaches in the NBA or coaches in the NBA, I'd put Tibbs a notch below the big couple guys like Spoelstra and all, but right up there. If you think about it, Mike Brown, better than average coach. So they traded an outstanding, probably because of a lot of what we're just talking about, the minutes police and all the other stuff, for a guy that's not as good a coach. And he's doing the same thing as Tibbs did.
Right.
Only the Knicks would do something like that.
Yeah. It is tough. Your reputation, once it's cemented, just follows you. And earned or not, that's what you're held up against, because you're absolutely right. If that would have happened under Tibbs' watch, he gets thrown under the bus, whereas Mike Brown gets a couple of questions about it. But on we go, hoping for the best for the Knicks and Jalen Brunson. Another injury, unfortunately, was low-risk, high-reward signing by the Clippers. They brought in Bradley Beal. It didn't cost them a lot in NBA terms, but it ended up being the worst possible outcome for both Beal and the Clippers. What does Beal's injury mean for the Clippers?
One of my pet peeves with the NBA is you get teams like the Clippers who go get a guy that's older and has an injury history. If he gets hurt every year, what would you expect? Oh, I know Phoenix had to buy him out, so he got big money this year, and the Clippers signed him for 2 years, $11 million, and it's not a big hit. But give some numbers, and it'll make you think. The 2018-19 season, Beal played 82 games. From that, in 20, he played 57, 21, 60. Now it gets real good. 22, 40, 23, 50, 24, 53, last year, 53. Now, if you're a GM, and I like Lawrence Frank, but if you're a GM, how are things you think things are going to change? Are you kidding? It makes absolutely no sense. And if you want, we could talk about the Clippers as a group in a second, but any comments about what I just put out there?
No, history has a way of repeating itself. And when you've got that kind of consistent long-term result, that's what you've got to expect at the best moving forward. I think the Clippers were counting on 50 games from Bradley Beal, and they're not even going to get that. But yeah, no argument for me.
The only time I saw that work was 85, 86 when Boston got Bill Walton. And he was always injured, and he played 81 games that year when they won the title. But then the next year, he was hurt most of the year. So it very rarely works history's going to repeat.
Yeah.
And what happens here?
Let's pause on the deep dive for the Clippers because you brought them up twice. So we're going to come back to the Clippers, but unfortunately, Bradley Beal is done for the season with hip surgery. Let's see, where he ends up next year, or if he ends up anywhere at all this year. We talked a lot about the Sacramento Kings here, just the oddity of what they're doing, what they're trying to do. I look at them as a group of really good players. They're good individual players. They're not a team, and they haven't been a team as long as I can remember. Now, you suggested a path forward for Sacramento. What is that?
First of all, if you study sports, not just the NBA, ownership's a key.
Sure.
I mean, there's no secret that certain teams are always near the top, always pretty good, because they have great ownership and great management. Sacramento's got Vivek Redidev, who is, I guess the nice way to say it is very impatient. He fired Mike Brown 2 years ago, the year after they had their best season in many years. And he goes through those people like people go through shirts. He just fires people left and right. Right now, they have a team of misfit toys. They're nice players, but collectively it doesn't work well together. And he also took a guy like Zach LaVine, who really is going to be interesting. He's going to be a free agent. I don't know what he's going to make because a lot of teams really aren't interested. So DeRozan's getting old. He took a gamble on Schroeder, and now Schroeder, I hear, is not starting, or I read he's not starting. So they've got Sabonis. They never really sat down and said, maybe we ought to get a 5 to go with Sabonis and make Sabonis the 4. Maybe that'll make us better. Never did that.
Yeah.
He's got Curry, I believe, is his GM now after firing one last year. If Curry's the right guy, Scott Perry, I believe, but if he's the right guy, you got to sit back and you got to give him a couple of years.
Yeah.
And you got to let him go. And Bug Presky was getting frustrated with his effort of his team. If you've been reading, you got to let him coach for a couple of years. And the only thing I'll say is if you give him 3-4 years, okay, the first year is going to be not pretty. The second year shows some improvement. And then into the third year improvement. Again, not saying playoffs or title, but just better in incremental steps.
Yeah.
And make the right steps. Not just trying to, that's a big name, Zach LaVine, let's get him. And instead of doing it in an incremental, sensible way and try to make something that will last a long period of time.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening in Sacramento. I feel for the fans because they're pretty good.
Yeah.
But that's the best way to build a team. And hopefully, if you deal these people that I've mentioned just now, maybe you can get a couple ones and maybe off the draft do well. But that's trusting your GM and not for another year.
It is time for a reset in Sacramento, unfortunately, and I'm really hoping to get it done because, like you said, great fans, great environment, the whole Like the Beam thing. I'm watching the game. I'm getting hyped up watching how hyped up those fans are for their team. So hoping for good things out of Sacramento. We talked about the Clippers. Now let's talk about them. A little deeper dive here. Many called them the winners of the offseason. They had a really good, they lost Norman Powell, who's doing great things in Miami, but they brought in what people thought was a really good haul of players, a really good group of players. There was some optimism around the Clippers, but their age is showing. You called that out. I think you have some incredible stats about their youngest player that has key minutes. What's going on in LA?
I'm going to just run through some numbers here of age, which is 33. Collins is 28. Dunn is 31. Harden is 36. He's your best player. Jones is 28. Brook Lopez, 37. Chris Paul, he doesn't even play much, but he's 40. Zubac is 28. John Collins is 28. Leonard is 34. A lot of times in sports, like the Clippers, Steve Ballmer doesn't want to lose, especially with a new arena being built and all that stuff. Well, they keep selling out and selling out. And where are they? Well, they got some problems. They don't have a draft pick in 27. They don't have a draft pick. No, rather, they have a draft pick in 27 and 29. 26 and 28, I don't believe they do. what do you do? They're headed for a downfall. It might not be this year. It might be, but a big downfall where it's 20-win season. You don't have draft picks. And if you look at that roster, who the heck are you going to trade? Harden, what are you going to get back? I don't think you're going to get a number one at all for him because he's 36 years old. He's making a lot of money. He's still good. But again, it's not unless some team is close and they think he can bring them over the top. And even that team might give up a lot. Zubats is a nice player. He's 28. Maybe he can get something for him. Again, you're not going to get a stack of number ones or anything for him. So what do you do? It's very difficult. I don't know what they're going to do, but I don't know if there's a way out outside of losing a lot of games.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, I think that is the only way out. They are the oldest team when you look at their entire roster, just over 28. But when you add in the players that are in rotation, that number goes up into the 30s. And the scary thing, I hate to circle back to our number one topic, the Oklahoma City Thunder are the sixth youngest team.
Well,
it just boggles the mind.
Add something to that. Let's go back a couple of years. And I know Kawhi wanted a trade made for Paul George.
Right.
Who got traded for Paul George besides draft picks?
Yeah, it was Shet.
Yeah. Just think they didn't sign Leonard and just didn't give away all those draft picks and stayed with Shea to be right now.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't be talking about Oklahoma City, which we spent a little time talking about them before. So that would have been perfect.
I am confident when I speak for all the Los Angeles Clipper fans that we just don't want to talk about it. So on we go. The last topic, it hurts too much. It hurts way too much. The last point that you covered was that epic Warrior Spurs showdown. Now, I think 2 games, both won by the same team, told us a lot about both teams. What were your takeaways about both the Warriors and the Spurs after that 2-game showdown?
There were a bunch. First of all, it was fascinating to watch Draymond Green trying to get into Wembanyama's head.
Right.
But this was classic. The upstart against the fading champion.
Yeah.
It's what every Hollywood writer writes about and all that good stuff. Yeah. What I saw was interesting. Golden State just stayed with it and played and beat them. For San Antonio, they still have to figure out how they want to react at the end of a game, and they have to learn how to execute down the stretch. And by that, I think back to our podcast a couple of weeks ago with the people from San Antonio.
Yeah.
They, Aaron Fox and Wemby and all that. They're good players. Nobody's arguing. Well, the Aaron Fox has to sit back and realize he's making a lot of money, $60 million or so. But Wemby, he's the meal ticket. So you come down, don't bounce the ball for a half hour and then throw up something. Get the ball to Wemby. And if you go down, but you're going down the right way. There's one more piece to it. The second pick in the draft is Mr. Harper from last year.
Sure.
Is he playing? No. He's a future star. He's hurt. He's a future star. If they had him, what would things have been a little different? You wonder. Also says to you, San Antonio's going to be very good. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
But it's time. They're still getting better. And then you always have one more problem. Right up the road, a couple hours away, about 6-7 hours away, Oklahoma City. You have enough to ever beat them. But that's
the wise words of Joel Embiid are circling in my brain. It is a process, and the San Antonio Spurs are going through that process. I think they're going to be really good this season. I think they're going to be fun. They won't be an easy out in the playoffs, but they've got a little bit more growing to do. And I think they learn, if they're smart, and this is a very smart franchise, they learned a lot by seeing what the Warriors did to them, because the Warriors, like you said, they got that mentality that the Spurs want, that the Spurs need. And hopefully they learned a little something.
Don't forget, new coach.
Sure.
Better team. And if we go back, I don't know if San Antonio expected to be this good this quick and the coach would grow into it. He is, but also, I don't know if Popovich in his day he might have brought him home. And that's it. The other thing, too, I don't think Golden State's going to win a title. If you look at all the other teams that get in the playoffs, I don't think one of them wants to play Golden State in the playoffs.
No way.
You never know what the old gang can do.
And what Steph Curry's doing right now is absolutely incredible. He looks like he hasn't missed a beat, which is really odd. Guards tend to do what Chris Paul, we're seeing Chris Paul happen. He falls off a cliff. That's what generally happens with guards. We're not seeing that with Steph Curry, and I hope we don't, because it's fun watching him play.
Is he, in your mind, one of the 10 greatest players that ever played?
Oh, I'm going to have to sit on that. One of the 10 greatest players. He is one of the 10 most impactful players because he changed the game. The way he shot threes in a way most people shoot layups. That changed the game because everybody started doing that after him. So he impacted the game. He's incredibly impactful. But when you say greatest,
yeah,
I'm going to let that simmer for a bit. I don't know if he cracks the top 10, but if he doesn't, he's on the bubble for sure. He's that good.
Okay. It's just something to kick around because...
Let's kick it around. That's an interesting thought.
I'm an older person. I've seen a lot of basketball, and I'm always stick up for the old timers. But what he's doing now, incredible. He's getting how many 40-point games at his age and all those neat things. And this guy, he could be Tom Brady playing forever. Each game I watch him, and he's still just as good as he always was. Maybe he's a little more fragile, but he's just as good as he always was.
Yeah.
So I'd have to think of 10 guys and so on, but because I just threw the number 10 out there. Naturally, you get Jordan right away, and Wilt and Russell and most people, Bird and Johnson. So, Kareem. I just 5 off. That's Kareem is 6. I knew you'd come up with a Laker while we talked about it.
That's my go.
Yeah. No, you're right. Kareem is. But what I'm saying, okay, that's 6. Jerry West, 7. Oscar, 8.
It's tough. And then is Magic better than... It's so subjective, man. Yeah, that's why I'm not a big fan of these lists, but they do make you think, right? Yeah, I don't know. But it's a good thought. I'm gonna probably think about it all week, and I'll give you my end result next week, which is a good teaser. Come back next week, and I'll let you know where I think Steph Curry lands.
Curry does this another 2 years like this. Who's better, him or LeBron?
Come on, man. You can't. The buzzer already went off. You can't hit me with these now.
Why not?
So you're saying he has these? Okay. Does he win a title? Does he win any more titles in the next 2 years? Is he just good individually?
All machete, I don't think so.
So you're just saying he continues to excel as an individual player?
Doesn't he have one more title? Doesn't he have?
Yeah. You could argue that he's better than LeBron now without those 2 years. But again, that's where the subjectivity comes into it, right? All right. Next time, let's throw these out at the start instead of at the end. Because now, the flag already gone up. I know there's no flag in basketball, but the buzzer went off. We're done. We've got to do, we used to do a 13 rules overtime. And I think we probably need that again for these kind of conversations because they're interesting. But that is it. Our time is up. You heard the buzzer go off. Means literally nothing to us because we just keep talking. But thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Make sure to read Steve's entire 13 Rules Random NBA Thoughts article. We will link it wherever you're watching or listening to the show today. Please, as always, subscribe, comment, follow. All that stuff means the world to us, and we're grateful for all of it. Join us next week for more Random NBA Thoughts as we recap week number 5. We'll talk then, Steve.